Sagittarius, God is protecting you from a fake person trying to enter your life. There comes a moment, dear Sagittarius, when the world around you grows quiet. So quiet that even the softest whisper of your intuition becomes impossible to ignore. Maybe you've felt it lately. That faint tightening in your chest when a certain someone speaks, that tiny shift in energy when they enter the room, that almost invisible hesitation before you share something personal. You brush it off because your heart wants to believe in the goodness of people. You always have. That is the beauty of your fire. It warms, it forgives, it hopes. But this time that whisper is not imagined. It is guidance. You've been caring so much, haven't you? The needs of your children, the fragility of aging parents, the endless balancing act between responsibility and the freedom your soul aches for. You give and you give and you give, sometimes until your own spirit becomes the last thing you tend to. And in that exhaustion, a different energy tried to draw near. Someone whose intentions were not as soft as their smile. Someone who sensed your openness and mistook it for vulnerability. But what they didn't know is that Sagittarius is never truly unguarded. Because even when your hands are full and your heart is tired, there is a divine presence standing beside you, watching, redirecting, gently pulling you away from paths that would wound your spirit. That uneasy feeling you've had? That was protection. The strange coincidences, the canceled plans, the sudden reluctance to share your private thoughts? Protection. The moment you felt something was off, but couldn't explain why? Protection. My love, you did not find these words by chance. You were guided here because you are finally ready to see what your human eyes once overlooked. Ready to claim the clarity your soul has been whispering for. Ready to understand why God has been quietly shielding you from someone who is not who they pretend to be. And as we begin this journey together, I want you to breathe deeply. Soften your shoulders, and let the truth arrive gently. Nothing here is meant to frighten you. This is not a warning of danger. This is a reminder of your worth, and of the divine hands that have been holding your path steady, even when you couldn't see the unseen. You are protected, Sagittarius. You always have been. Now, you are simply ready to understand why. Chapter 1. The hidden exhaustion of a Sagittarius woman in midlife. There is a kind of tiredness, Sagittarius, that doesn't live in the body at all. It hides in the heart. In the quiet places no one sees, behind the gentle smile you offer to keep the world steady. And at this stage of your life, you've carried so much for so long that even you forget how heavy it truly feels. You move through your days with a certain grace, tending to children who still need your guidance, holding space for aging parents who lean on your strength, maintaining the fragile balance of family life, work, expectations, and the silent longing within you for just one breath of freedom. You rarely speak of this exhaustion because you've learned to wear resilience like armor. You've learned to say, "I'm fine," even when your spirit aches for rest. You've learned to show up, even when your own needs whisper quietly at the bottom of the list. And because you are Sagittarius, generous, hopeful, ever-expanding, you often believe that endurance is a kind of love, that giving more, bending further, and holding everything together is what makes you worthy and strong. But in this season of your life, something delicate has begun to shift. You've been so stretched, so drained, so occupied with caring for everyone else that your spiritual defenses have thinned. Not broken, but softened. And this softness, this depletion that comes from years of devotion, is exactly the space where a false-hearted person tries to slip through. They don't arrive with darkness on their face or poison on their tongue. No, they come as warmth, as understanding, as someone who gets you, at a time when you can barely catch your own breath. They sense the quiet fatigue you don't admit out loud. They sense the longing for companionship, reassurance, or simply the feeling of not carrying everything alone. They sense your tenderness and they mistake it for permission. And this is where the universe intervened. Because in your exhaustion you might have trusted too quickly. You might have leaned on the wrong shoulder, shared something sacred with someone who did not deserve to hear it, let someone close who was not capable of holding your heart with care. The divine saw this long before you did. Saw the way your light was flickering beneath the weight of responsibility, and knew that you needed protection more than ever. You see, when a Sagittarius woman is tired, she still shines, but her inner fire dims just enough for her intuition to grow quiet. And your intuition, my love, has always been your compass. It tells you who is safe, who is sincere, who carries truth in their energy, and who only carries hunger. But lately, that compass has been buried under errands, emotions, and the pressure of being everything for everyone. So the universe stepped in to compensate. It heightened the whispers. It increased the signs. It created friction, delays, interruptions, all to stop you from walking into a connection that would drain you even more. What you have been feeling, that strange heaviness when you think of this person, that small hesitation before answering their messages, that sense of something not aligning in your chest is not paranoia. It is not overthinking. It is the echo of your soul calling you back to yourself. It is your spiritual fire returning. It is Jupiter, your ruling planet, expanding your awareness and pulling you toward truth after months, maybe years of putting yourself last. And perhaps the most sacred part of this exhaustion is that it has revealed something you needed to remember. You are human. You are breakable. You are deserving of rest. And because you deserve rest, you deserve protection. This chapter of your life is not about weakness. It is about learning that even the strongest Sagittarius cannot carry the world alone. It is about realizing that divine protection surrounds you not because you are fragile, but because you are precious. You have been watched over because your spirit is needed for bigger, more honest, more soul-aligned paths ahead. Paths that require you to be free, clear, and unburdened by those who come with hidden intentions. So breathe, my love. Let your shoulders relax. Let your heart soften. You are not failing. You are not lost. You are being guarded in every direction. And this quiet exhaustion you feel is not the end of your strength. It is the beginning of your awakening. Chapter 2, The Nature of the Fake Person Approaching You. There is a particular kind of heartbreak that doesn't come from a lover, a partner, or a family member. It comes from realizing that someone you allowed into your sacred space was never who you believed they were. And Sagittarius, this chapter isn't meant to create fear in your heart, but clarity in your spirit. Because when a false person appears on your path, it is rarely obvious at first. They don't walk into your life carrying shadows. They walk in carrying mirrors, reflecting what you want to see, what you need in your tired moments, what you long for when the weight of midlife responsibility becomes heavier than your usual optimism can hold. This person approaches with softness, with timing, with careful observation. They don't start by taking, they start by studying. They learn your rhythms, your stresses, your generosity, the exact emotional creases in your life where you are most vulnerable. And because you, dear Sagittarius, are born with a heart that leans toward hope and sincerity, you don't immediately suspect anything. You assume that kindness is real, that warmth is genuine, that connection is mutual. It is not naivete. It is your nature to believe in the good first. But this person, their intentions lean in a different direction. They admire your strength but resent it. They enjoy your light but envy it. They show up when you are tired because tiredness makes even the most intuitive soul quiet, quieter than it should be. You may notice it in the way they compliment you, not with authenticity, but with a subtle flavor of control. Praise that feels good at first but somehow leaves you doubting yourself moments later. They might say you look beautiful, then immediately point out how exhausted you seem. They might tell you they admire your independence, then gently imply you make reckless decisions. They might celebrate your achievements but include a small twist that makes you question whether the success will last. This type of person mixes sweetness with a quiet, slow-working poison, so slowly that you hardly notice the shift. And you, with your generous fire, try to give them the benefit of the doubt because Sagittarius never wants to judge someone unfairly. This is exactly how they slip closer. Their presence becomes familiar. Their words begin to shape how you think about yourself. Their opinions start to influence what you share, what you hide, what you second-guess. You may even find yourself over-explaining your choices to them, or seeking validation you don't normally need, because their energy subtly nudges you out of your natural self-confidence. But here's the truth that matters most. This person is not here to destroy your life. They are here because they cannot create their own light. And they believe on some level that dimming yours will make their own feel brighter. The fake person approaching you isn't driven by pure malice. They are driven by insecurity so deep that your strength intimidates them. Your maturity makes them uncomfortable. Your capacity to love without needing to control anyone terrifies them, because control is the only language they understand. They want influence, not connection. They want access, not intimacy. They want your story not because they cherish it, but because knowing your story gives them power. These individuals often show up during a midlife transition, the very phase you are in, because that is when the soul becomes tender from carrying too much, when the heart opens to new understanding, and when certain old relationships begin to shift or fade. This person senses your transitional energy the way a moth senses light. They are drawn in by your generosity, your emotional competence, your ability to nurture even while exhausted. And they think incorrectly that someone like you can be easily guided, shaped, or controlled. What they fail to realize is that Sagittarius is a fire that never truly dies. Even when dimmed, your inner truth burns steady beneath the surface. And that truth begins to awaken the moment someone tries to manipulate your spirit. You might have noticed small inconsistencies already. How their stories don't always align, how their tone shifts depending on who is listening, how they seem supportive publicly but plant doubts privately, how they take mental notes when you speak but reveal almost nothing about themselves. When this person smiles, something in your body doesn't fully relax. When they give advice, something in your mind resists the message. When they express concern, something in your intuition wonders why it feels more like judgment than care. These sensations are not accidental. They are the early alarms your soul rings before your mind can interpret the situation. Sagittarius intuition is one of your greatest blessings. It's a compass that never truly fails, but stress, responsibilities, and emotional fatigue can soften its voice. That is why the divine stepped in, placing signs in your path so you wouldn't rely solely on what you see with your physical eyes. The universe let their mask slip just long enough for you to catch glimpses. A tone that betrayed envy, a comment that revealed resentment, a moment of silence too long when you shared good news, a careless remark that stung but was quickly brushed off as a joke. Protection arrives in moments like these, not dramatic explosions of truth, but small, steady awakenings. And you may already be in the midst of one, because the truth is this person's presence in your life has never been about friendship or support. They are attracted to the power you don't even know you're radiating. Sagittarius at midlife carries a wisdom, a depth, a quiet glow that comes from surviving seasons many others could not endure. You are magnetic in ways you don't realize. And those who lack their own inner compass often try to attach themselves to someone like you, hoping to borrow a sense of direction. But they cannot borrow what they refuse to cultivate. So instead they try to tether you, emotionally, mentally, energetically, to prevent you from outgrowing them, outshining them, or outpacing them. And now, finally, you are beginning to see the difference between someone who lifts your spirit and someone who drains it. Between someone who celebrates your expansion and someone who fears it. Between someone who loves your light and someone who wants to dim it to feel taller beside you. This chapter of revelation is not meant to wound you. It is meant to free you. Because once you recognize a false-hearted person, their power dissolves instantly. Once you name the energy, it can no longer hide. And once you understand the truth, you will never again allow anyone like this to sit so close to your heart. Chapter 3: How Divine Protection Has Been Working Quietly for You. There is a quiet kind of miracle, Sagittarius, that unfolds in the background of your life. One so subtle, so gentle, so perfectly timed that you often mistake it for coincidence. But nothing you have lived through recently has been random, not the canceled plans, not the sudden hesitation, not the inexplicable urge to withdraw your trust at the very last moment. What you call gut feeling is the language of divine protection. And for months now, that protection has wrapped itself around you like a soft, invisible shield. You may not realize it yet, but the universe has been rearranging events, redirecting your steps, and slowing down certain connections because someone near you was not meant to have access to the most tender parts of your spirit. There were conversations you intended to have, but something interrupted them. There were messages you typed but deleted without knowing why. There were invitations you almost accepted but felt drained the moment you thought of going. These were not moments of indecision, they were moments of intervention. Each pause, each uncertainty, each internal tug was the divine stepping between you and a situation that could have pierced your already tired heart. And because you were exhausted, emotionally stretched from caring for children, anchoring your home, supporting aging parents, and navigating the quiet transitions of midlife, the universe knew you wouldn't immediately see the red flags. So it moved them for you. It rearranged timing so you wouldn't be at the wrong place at the wrong moment. It slowed down conversations that would have revealed too much to someone undeserving. It delayed opportunities that would have tied you to the wrong energy. It allowed minor inconveniences to become major blessings. Think back for a moment to those days when everything seemed to go wrong. You couldn't meet the person, your plans fell apart, something came up unexpectedly, a sudden wave of tiredness washed over you right before a conversation. You may have been frustrated then, but look deeper now. Those were the exact moments when this false-hearted person was most eager to get closer, most determined to draw something out of you, most prepared to use your weariness as an opening. The protection didn't announce itself. It simply blocked the doorway. Even your intuition, though quiet under the weight of responsibilities, still whispered faint warnings. Perhaps you felt a subtle shift in your chest when they texted you. Perhaps your mind created excuses to delay responding. Perhaps your soul stirred each time you considered trusting them with more of your truth. Protection speaks in the body before it speaks in the mind. Your hands hesitated. Your energy dipped. Your thoughts became foggy. Your heart pulled back even when your logic didn't understand why. And in the spaces where your intuition struggled to guide you clearly, divine timing stepped in with precision. There were situations that could have been disastrous had they unfolded fully. Confidences shared too soon, decisions influenced by the wrong advice, vulnerabilities exposed to someone who didn't intend to hold them with care. But each time something shifted the flow. The person got busy, you felt uneasy, circumstances changed, clarity returned. It wasn't chaos. It wasn't luck. It was orchestration. Sagittarius, your ruling planet Jupiter governs expansion, wisdom, spiritual truth, but it also governs protection, especially when you are too tired to see what threatens your inner peace. In this chapter of your life, Jupiter has not been subtle. It has been aligning signs in front of you like breadcrumbs back to your truth. Think about the moments when someone else unintentionally mentioned something strange about this person, or when you overheard a detail that didn't match what they told you, or when another friend suddenly entered your life and showed you a different, healthier kind of support. These contrasting energies were not random. Contrast is one of the universe's favorite teachers. You were meant to see the difference between forced connection and effortless connection, between someone who drains your spirit and someone who nourishes it, between someone who performs kindness and someone who embodies it. Even your dreams may have begun to shift. Sagittarius dreams become vivid when a spiritual warning is near. You might have dreamed of being lost, being late, being surrounded by people who don't speak your language, or being in a place that looks familiar but feels off. These dreams reflect the energetic mismatch around you, and every time you woke with a strange heaviness, that too was protection nudging your awareness. There is another layer, quieter and more profound. You have been protected from believing someone else's narrative about you. This false person carries insecurities so deep that they project them outward, trying to influence how others see you and how you see yourself. Yet somehow their words haven't fully penetrated your spirit. Somehow their judgments haven't reshaped your self-worth. Somehow, even when you felt momentarily confused, something inside you refused to accept their version of who you are. That something was divine shielding. Because you, my love, are stepping into a new season of life where your identity must be rooted in truth, not in anyone's manipulation, distortion, or quiet resentment. The universe is protecting not just your heart, but your future. It's blocking connections that would drain your spirit before you step into the next, more expansive chapter. It's closing doors to people who cannot walk with you into the next phase of your evolution. And each closed door is a blessing wrapped in temporary inconvenience. You have also been protected through timing, divine timing that kept you from making a choice that would have entangled your energy with someone false. Think of the opportunities that slipped, the plans that shifted, the delays that annoyed you. They were not setbacks, they were shields. They were the universe saying gently but firmly, not this, not them, not now. And perhaps the most beautiful protection of all is the one you haven't noticed yet. The deeper awakening happening inside you. Your intuition is growing stronger again. Your clarity is returning. Your inner fire is rising. Not the bright flame of youth, but the steady, wise fire of a woman who has lived, loved, endured, and risen many times. The universe is not just keeping the wrong person away. It is preparing you to recognize the right ones. The ones who mirror your truth, not your wounds. The ones who celebrate your light, not fear it. The ones who offer presence, not dependency. And the ones who love without needing to dim your fire. This is the protection that has been surrounding you. Soft, constant, devoted. And now at last you are ready to see it. Chapter 4: Your next evolution, boundaries, freedom, and a new circle of truth. There comes a moment in every Sagittarius woman's life when she realizes that the truth she has been avoiding is not here to break her. It is here to set her free. And you, my love, are standing at the threshold of such a moment. Everything you have endured, every hesitation, every strange intuition, every pattern that felt off, has been guiding you toward a deeper version of yourself. A version that no longer tolerates half-hearted connections or people who pretend to care while quietly draining your spirit. What you are walking into now is not a chapter of loss. It is a chapter of refinement. You are not being stripped of relationships, you are being aligned with the ones that honor who you are becoming. Your evolution begins with a single truth. The person you've been protected from was never meant to accompany you into the next season of your life. Their energy belongs to an older version of you. A version that overextended herself, trusted without discernment, and gave her heart to people who didn't know how to hold it. But that version is dissolving. Something inside you has shifted quietly but powerfully, like a door unlocking from the inside. You're beginning to feel it, the rebirth of your intuition, the reawakening of your independence, the subtle return of your inner fire. This is the Sagittarius woman rising, not with the impulsive flames of youth, but with the steady, focused heat of wisdom. You no longer crave approval the way you once did. You no longer bend your boundaries just to keep the peace. You no longer shrink yourself to make anyone comfortable. And most importantly, you no longer mistake red flags for quirks or excuses you need to fix. The false-hearted person who tried to infiltrate your life has unknowingly awakened something profound within you. Discernment. The ability to sense truth in silence. The ability to recognize intention behind smiles. The ability to trust the first whisper of your intuition without arguing against it. And as this awakening grows, your boundaries begin to take shape, not as walls built from fear, but as gates crafted from self-respect. Boundaries, for a Sagittarius, have always been a complicated subject. You love freedom, your own and everyone else's. You dislike saying no when someone needs you. You dislike disappointing others. You dislike the idea of shutting doors because your heart has always wanted to stay open. But open-heartedness without boundaries is not love. It is self-abandonment. And you, my love, are finally reclaiming the parts of yourself you abandoned along the way. You're beginning to understand that boundaries don't restrict your freedom. They protect it. They make space for the right people to come closer. They filter out the ones who only take without giving. They preserve your emotional clarity and restore your spiritual sovereignty. As this false person slowly fades out of your energy, you will begin to notice something extraordinary happening around you. The right people will start arriving. People whose presence feels like oxygen. People who don't compete with you. Who don't subtly belittle your achievements. Who don't hide their intentions behind soft smiles and calculated gestures. These new souls will feel safe. They will feel warm. They will feel real. And the moment you meet them, your body will recognize the difference instantly. No confusion. No heaviness. No doubt. Just a quiet, steady sense of, this is what genuine feels like. This is the next circle forming around you, smaller perhaps than the one you had before, but infinitely more aligned with your spirit. You will find yourself connecting with people who appreciate your honesty, who respect your independence, who admire your compassion instead of exploiting it. Their presence will feel like expansion, not contraction, like possibility, not pressure, like home. And as this new circle forms, your relationship with yourself will shift too. You will feel lighter, as though a weight you carried without noticing has finally slipped off your shoulders. Your mind will become clearer. Your creativity will return. Your laughter will feel real again, not forced or polite. Even your body will respond. You may sleep better, breathe deeper, move more freely, because the energy of falsehood has stopped pressing against your nervous system. This is the beauty of spiritual evolution. When you remove what is false, everything true begins to bloom. And this blooming will bring you to another revelation, the realization that you have outgrown not just people, but versions of yourself. You are not the woman you were 10 years ago or 5 or even 1. Midlife has not diminished you. It has refined you. It has cut away illusions, softened your edges, sharpened your insight, and revealed a strength that was always there but buried under decades of responsibility and selflessness. This evolution is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is quiet, grounded, mature, and unshakable. You are becoming a woman who trusts her own inner wisdom more than the opinions of others. A woman who listens to her body before her fear. A woman who knows the difference between someone who adds to her life and someone who drains it. A woman who chooses herself without apology. And with this evolution comes a new kind of freedom, one deeper than travel, adventure, spontaneity, or independence. This is spiritual freedom. The freedom to walk away from what doesn't nourish you. The freedom to speak your truth without shrinking. The freedom to rest without guilt. The freedom to love without losing yourself. The freedom to stand alone without feeling lonely. The freedom to choose only what aligns with your soul. That is the freedom Jupiter has been guiding you toward. That is the freedom you are stepping into now. And once you taste this freedom, this clarity, this sovereignty, this alignment, no false-hearted person will ever be able to enter your life again. Not because they won't try, but because you will sense them instantly. You will feel the dissonance in their energy. You will hear the lie beneath their praise. You will see the hunger behind their kindness. And you will quietly, gracefully, without drama or guilt, choose distance. That is your evolution. That is your becoming. That is your return to yourself. And my love, it is only the beginning. There is a quiet moment, Sagittarius, when the truth you've been circling around finally settles into your heart. Not as fear, not as heartbreak, not as chaos, but as clarity. And this clarity, gentle yet powerful, is the very gift the universe has been preparing you to receive. You did not walk through these recent months blindly. You walked through them guided, protected, and held by a force far greater than anything seeking to harm you. And now, as this chapter closes, something sacred opens within you. A sense of inner knowing that feels like coming home to a version of yourself you had forgotten you were allowed to be. The revelations you've experienced are not punishments. They are awakenings. The truth about the false-hearted person in your life was not shown to you to break your trust in humanity, but to rebuild your trust in yourself. You were not meant to stay in confusion, to question your intuition, to silence your inner voice just to keep a fragile peace. You were meant to rise back into your truth, into your wisdom, into the grounded fire that has always lived beneath the surface of your exhaustion. This is the moment where your spirit exhales. This is where the weight lifts. This is where the universe whispers, you can stop trying to carry everything alone now. Because the truth has not come to wound you, it has come to free you. You are stepping into a phase of life where intuition becomes your first language again. You will no longer ignore the whispers, the instincts, the subtle pulls in your chest. You will no longer rationalize what your body already knows. You will no longer postpone the decisions that honor your soul. Something inside you has shifted permanently. You trust yourself now. And this trust is what makes you untouchable. The person who tried to deceive you thought they were strategically weaving themselves into your life. But what they didn't realize is that they were never interacting with a woman who is naive. They were interacting with a woman who is sacred. Sagittarius women in midlife are not fragile. They are fierce in ways the world often underestimates. You carry decades of experience, decades of emotional endurance, decades of surviving seasons that would have crushed others. Your softness is not weakness, it is spiritual intelligence. Your generosity is not ignorance, it is soul maturity. Your willingness to see the best in people is not blind optimism, it is divine compassion. And now, with discernment settling into your spirit, your compassion no longer leaves you unprotected. It empowers you, it strengthens you. It refines your circle into something smaller, but infinitely more true. In the coming weeks, you will feel your energy returning. Not all at once. More like a sunrise that gradually paints your inner sky with warmth again. You will wake with thoughts that feel clearer. You will walk with a lighter step. You will speak with a steadier voice. You will feel a sense of groundedness in your chest you haven't felt in years. And as your energy rises, the contrast between what is real and what was false will become undeniable. You'll see it in the way some people respond to your joy, in the way they shrink when you expand, in the way they tighten when you loosen, in the way their energy dims in the presence of your returning glow. But you will also see something else, something more beautiful. You will see the people who stay, the ones who support without agenda, the ones who celebrate without envy, the ones who listen without needing to control, the ones who stand quietly beside you when life shakes, and who don't disappear when the noise fades. These souls, my love, are your true circle. They are the ones meant to walk with you into the next chapter. And the next chapter is breathtaking. It is not a place where you are afraid of betrayal. It is not a place where you walk on eggshells. It is not a place where you silence your truth to maintain harmony. It is a place of freedom, real freedom. The spiritual kind, the emotional kind, the kind of freedom Jupiter, your ruling planet, has been preparing you for all along. This freedom is internal. It comes from knowing you don't have to hold on to anyone whose energy feels heavy. It comes from knowing you don't have to explain your boundaries to be worthy of love. It comes from knowing you don't have to rescue anyone to feel valued. It comes from knowing you are allowed to walk away from anything that makes your spirit shrink. And as you step into this freedom, it transforms how you love, how you trust, how you give, how you receive. You will no longer love from a place of fear. You will love from a place of clarity. You will no longer trust from a place of hopefulness alone. You will trust from a place of wisdom. You will no longer give until your energy is empty. You will give from an overflowing cup. And this overflow is coming slowly, gently, beautifully. You can feel it already. This awakening is not dramatic. It is deeply spiritual. You are becoming a woman whose boundaries vibrate naturally, whose intuition guides effortlessly, whose confidence is rooted in inner truth rather than external validation. You no longer need people to tell you who you are. You know who you are. You no longer need acceptance to feel worthy. You know your worth. You no longer need someone to treat you well to feel lovable. You are love. This healing is not the end of anything. It is the beginning of a wiser you, freer you, a more intuitive you, a Sagittarius who walks with divine protection not as a shield, but as a companion. The falsehood around you has been revealed so that the truth within you can rise fully. And now, my love, you are ready to walk forward light, clear, protected, powerful. The universe has been guiding you. God has been protecting you. Your intuition is awakening you. And you are stepping into the most authentic version of your life. Trust this season. Trust the unfolding. Trust yourself.